Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene of Living World of Darkness, Rage Across the Amazon. This day starts with, well, not Hin usually being at her spot, which is a stream little at the, well, at the edge of the sept. It's just slightly more quiet than the rest of the sept. Still same heat, same moist, which is starting to get to her really, really much. This is, for her, she still considered this hell on earth. She can't imagine, she could never have imagined a place like this ever existing. But she can't go. She has her, well, she's a cub. She doesn't even have orders. She's just not allowed to go. So she stays close to the water. It brings some amount of coolness. It brings some distraction, and as often as she can, she is found in the Umbra talking to the water spirits, as she's promised them stories, and she's getting theirs. As she started her day and is actually walking around this place that still feels so unfamiliar, she remembers a certain individual that they met a while back, and that caught her interest very much. And she decides that she's going to try at least to find him and see if he, at some point during the day, maybe has some time for questions of a little cub. So she'll make her way through Sept, looking for the Garu known as Rasfire.
Rossfire is generally throughout the day busy handing out orders, sometimes going off sept, sometimes stepping into the Umbra off sept. He can be, most of the day, he can be seen talking to his spirit companion around his neck. Seems to be always busy, and the small moments that he gets to himself are usually always spent with him looking at with him in the Umbra, looking at a crystal around his neck, and he seems to look at it very mournfully.
Okay, mournful Nook noticed. No. And yeah, during the day you may see that there is that you often in like the corner of your eyes, or a little bit away from where you're handing out orders, or in the Umbra, or that there is a tiny little Garu following you, following Aaron. Just at a very respectful distance. And even when he's alone, she comes a little closer, but not too much, because she does not want to interrupt his solitude or his time to think or to relax.
He'll keep looking at the crystal, kind of play with it with his fingers. Inhale and exhale, and will then turn his head to the tiniest little Garu ever. And he'll say, Tlatahin, right?
And as her name is being mentioned, she actually jumps then realizes that that's the wrong side, and rolls over before actually falling on the ground. Yes, Rasvaya Raya.
You've been following me all day. Is that something you want to talk to me about?
I your stories last time where your knowledge is really impressive, and I am I would be honored if I could listen to if I could hear you speak more, Raya.
Oh, come, sit with me.
She keeps low. Well, she doesn't really have to make much of an effort to be smaller than him. She goes up to him and sits down. Kind of, she crosses her legs and places her hands in between them. She's not folding her hands because she can't, but she's like her fingertips touching each other. You can clearly see the webbing in between, of course. She's not making an effort to hide it.
I'll kind of look at it, smile. Oh, okay, I see. What kind of stories do you want to hear?
Katori Raya has told me stories. Well, has told me things about the worm, and Ping Raya has told me stories about Weaver. I was wondering, knowledge as much as you have it, maybe could you tell me a little bit about the wild?
The wild. The kind of things. The wilds is I would say, the weirdest one out of the triad. You can look at the weaver and you can say, that is the weaver. And you can look at the worm and you can say, that is the worm. That is of the worm. But when you look at the wild, what do you see? What do you dedicate as the wild? Do you know?
I dedicate as the wild?
Yes, what do you think the wild is, Platehin?
I'm thinking about what you said about how the Umbra is here, and how it is ever changing. So I would say it would be change, maybe chaos, growth.
Chaos, growth. Those are some good things. They're what the wild is commonly known by, right? Chaos, growth, new things, evolution, uh, change.
Mm-hmm.
They're correct, but they're also wrong. For what if a thing changes so much that it becomes destroyed? See, the wild, there isn't a lot that you can tie to it. Because there's nothing you can see. When you look at the wild, you can look at something and you can say that it's of the wild, and it will most likely be something tied to change, to growth, to nature. But you can also say that it's wrong. Because did you know that's do you know what the internet is?
Internet? Oh, wait. Ping Raya, she uh she got stuff like she kind of pulls at the well, the clothing that she's wearing, which is honestly it's just her underwear really. Sort of top with a pair of shorts. She ordered my well, she called it online buying. She got me the clothes that I have. They are from my tribe. She also got
See,
me other things.
the internet is something that is tied very closely, many say, to the weaver, right? It's technology. It's new. It's stagnation. It's technological. Things that are very much of the wild, right? No, not the
Mhm.
wild, the weaver.
Mhm. I guess so. Yes.
There are spiritual representatives of various websites that are wild. How can that be? How can something of technology or stagnation be of the wild? Should be of the weaver, right?
Yes.
And yet, it is there. Websites like DeviantArt, hell, 4chan, if you believe it. 4chan are websites that are tied to the wild because of the complete random and utter bullshit that keeps happening on them.
She looks very confused at this. She's never heard of those things.
He smiles. So even in the domains of the weaver, there is the wild. Things that should be of the weaver are of the wild. Things that could be of the worm could be of the wild. Things that should be of the wild are of the weaver. The wild is an entity that cannot be tied down to concepts, for it'll always change, and it'll never ever stay the same.
Like the sea.
Hmm?
Well, if you when I was no, not even a cub yet, and my home was close to the sea, and I usually went to the sea every day. Well, if I could, and it didn't matter what hour I came, if I came at the same hour or different ones, if I came during winter or spring or summer, or it didn't matter if I got there every day, every week, or if I hadn't been able to go to the beach for several weeks. Every time I came there, the sea was different. It was flowing and changing the colors, the waves, the waters. It's just always different because it kept flowing.
Hmm.
Like that?
Yes. I shall give you an example. Once there was a shadow lord. His name was Bound by Darkness. Very, very much of pure heritage, strongly tied back to his tribe. You could see it in his fur. You could smell where he walked. He was a phytodox. He stepped into a wild realm. He stepped into a realm that is completely dedicated to change. He did not come out as a Shadow Lord. He came out as a Stargazer.
You mean it had changed him?
Yes. And it was no longer a him. He turned into a her.
But it was still the same Garu.
Yes and no. She had memories of stepping into the realm as a Shadow Lord, but she came out as a Stargazer. And it wasn't as if he or she had forsaken the tribe. No, because if you looked at her, if you smelled her, if you saw her fur, you would say that is a Stargazer that cannot have ever been a Shadow Lord.
How?
Such is the wild.
And she thinks about it. But then it's like it is like that for all of us. I mean,
This could happen to all of us if we stepped
we.
into a wild realm.
Well, I think even here, but not so big. It happens. I mean, you stand up each morning and every day you change a little. You learn something new, you change. And you are no longer the same person that you were before.
You're no longer the same person you were yesterday, right?
Yes. Hmm.
That isn't wrong.
Is that also the influence of the wild?
Perhaps, perhaps so.
I see. It is weird.
The more you learn about the wild, the more you will see that you cannot learn anything about the wild.
But how do we know of it then?
Because it exists.
I don't get it. Or is that the point?
Perhaps so, because nothing can quantify or understand the wild. Every time I've tried getting close to an answer, it just completely changes. Every ethic, every code it follows, it's like it plays a game with those who follows it.
But how do we recognize it then? Is that because it's not a worm or a weaver? So basically, when something is not weaver or worm, it is wild?
There is a gift that is taught amongst the Black Furies, I believe. It is called Sense Wild. A spirit taught it again. He scratches his head and kind of thinks.
Maybe then Mother Raya knows.
Hmm?
Maybe the mother calls Raya knows.
Oh, that's one. Remember, any guy in spirit can teach it.
Hmm,
So
I
that means
see.
a lot of them. Sense worm, sense weaver, sense wild. They are
Hmm.
all taught by guy in spirits.
I believe my breed can learn since when.
Yes, yes, you can. You are, after all, true Garu.
I guess that's a way to say it, maybe.
Do you not like that terminology?
I've never heard of it before.
Hmm. Well, there's a first time for everything.
It sounds more flattering than what we are. It sounds nice.
Some things I've learned just don't matter.
And some things do.
I shouldn't be stressed as much.
If you, they said you were from the same sept that I am not part of.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that they don't treat my kind the same as what I'm used to.
Yep. It's because it's a Bonar sept.
I see. I'm not very. I don't know a lot about bonars. I've got my lessons from Katori Raya, and he told me a lot about the pure tribes, but not about the rest.
Mm. Well, the Bonars are the downtrodden and are always used to make an example out of
I know.
others.
I know the basics of what it is, what a bonar is. I met with Mother Larissa before I knew who she was, before I recognized her, and well,
Ah, the old witch.
she fished me out of the river.
What, like hook, line, and sinker?
And she grimaces. Yes, Raya.
Oh dear, that sounds just like her.
I'm sure. Thank you for your lessons, though. Is there a way that I can repay you?
Stay alive. Don't die.
That seems a very small price to pay for such knowledge.
I don't. Well, I always welcome more knowledge. I always like learning new things.
Mm. I, I'm not sure if I really have anything to tell you. I mean, I know a little about the Umbra spirits, the Garu, of course.
I doubt you could teach me more about that than I already know.
I doubt so as well. And I mean, I know a little about, or well, a little bit more about the Wendigo, and I know a little about the Uktena. Um, but
I
since you
bet I.
know, sorry.
No, it's alright. It's alright. If you wish to learn more about your heritage tribes, I can also teach you about that. And he just kind of smirks at her.
You can see her eyes shining. Could you? I mean, I would be really interested in learning a little bit more about the Wendigo, but also about Uktena, and maybe, I mean, I presume you've spoken a lot with Tori Raya, and maybe you could tell me something more about the Croatan.
The Croatan I actually don't know a lot about.
Oh,
It's I've
well,
been to a time when they were still alive. I've wrote a song in their honor, but I haven't had the opportunity to study them much.
well, um, Katori taught me a little about them.
Well, if you're willing, I would love to hear about the Croatan.
Um, I can try. I'm not a Galliard, but I can try and tell you a few things about them. Did you
Sure, I'm all ears.
did do you know how the three brothers came to the Pure Lands?
I believe they wanted to do nothing with the situation on the mainland, right?
Well, the mainlands were there was turmoil and things weren't going well, but it wasn't necessarily their choice, as it was an offering that a mother made to them. She gave them a way, a moon bridge to walk on, and they came to the lands, and they were pure. There was no Garu there. There was it wasn't without fault. The worm was there, and even the weaver, the wild, they were all there. But it was a free land otherwise. There was a fresh start, and the mother, she gave it to them, to all three of them. They were in the north, and it was cold, but it was summer, and they stayed there for a long time. But slowly, summer started to fade away, and the wind started to blow up. And the oldest brother, Uktena, he didn't like the cold, so he said farewell to the mother and went down south to find more answers and seek new wisdom. And he left, leaving two brothers and mother there. And as dark clouds started to, well, hide the blue sky, the middle brother, Croatan, who loved the coziness of the leaves that were falling, the warm fires, but also the spring and the harvest, was more moderate, steadfast. He looked at the lands, saw how they slowly turned white, and he spoke to the mother, telling her that he felt the urge to find a new home, a new place to be. And he went south as well, though not as far as the oldest brother. That was middle brother. His name was Croatan. And The youngest, he stayed with his mother, and the snow started to fall, turning everything white, and temperature started to drop and turned water into ice. And middle brother looked at his mother. He said, "I will not leave you. I will fight to survive. This place will be our place, and we will not leave it." And that is how younger brother got to stay there where it was always white and cold. And when he go, defended his lands and became hard as ice.
But Wendigo wasn't always Wendigo, was he?
No,
First, he was Sasquatch.
I have heard a little about that, but most of the elders seem very reluctant to speak of it.
I can imagine. There are many rumors of when Sasquatch became Wendigo. But there's one central that seems to stick out. Did you know the Uktena, the Croatan, and the Wendigo were at war for territory with each other?
Yes, I've heard of it. Tori also told me a little about it. I mean, I knew we weren't, like I said, we weren't perfect. It wasn't paradise or something.
How are you doing a lot better job than the European Garu, let me tell you that.
I know. I mean, that's why they came to our lands and they destroyed it.
He kind of looks around. They did indeed. We all did.
Everybody says we can't change history. And I guess they're right. But it doesn't mean that the problem can't be acknowledged. The Pure Lands weren't paradise. They weren't. We had our own deals. We had our own problems. And after the Storm Eater and losing Grotan, we were weak. But that is not an excuse to do what was done to us.
I'm sorry. It's not going to help a lot.
It's better than saying get over with it. Get over it.
I don't think you can, honestly. I don't think you should.
I'm gonna go. We don't forget.
Do you know about the same times that the tragedies happened on the northern continent that are happening in the southern one as well?
I had not heard of it, but I can't say I'm surprised.
How much do you know about the Camazotes?
I have heard of the name.
The Camazotes are the werebats. They were the southern continent's Corex. They were there to find information and to deliver it to the other changing blades. They were Gaia's other messengers. were bats. So, their rites and their gifts involved blood. They were monstrous creatures in their giant war forms, as far as you could call the war form. And so, and they were drinking blood was in those forms, so they were mistaken for vampiric creatures, for worm creatures.
And let me guess, they got destroyed.
He will take his necklace and the crystal that hangs on it in his hand again and look at it. Yes. Yes, they did. All of them.
By the Wormcomers?
Worm bringers.
Wormbringers.
It wasn't just destruction. It was slaughter. Every man, woman, and child that was there got ripped apart to pieces, not being able to defend themselves, being left to die bleeding out without anybody looking over them. And you can see his hand going grasping tighter around the crystal until you can see the white of his knuckles. Butchered without a word to say against.
Yes. Like our kin.
Mm-hmm.
I remember some of the elders of my sept saying that if the Wormcomers had only waged war against us, the Garu, even that would have been, they would have been able to forgive them. But the Gets and the Shadow Lords, they slaughtered our kin as well. Our women, our children, our men, our wolves, our cubs. And that which they didn't slaughter, they brought disease to. And that what hadn't died by then. And the Fianna came, polluting them with alcohol and gambling. The tales of destruction of the pure lands and all its inhabitants are many, and apparently it didn't matter whether you lived here, where in this heat, or up north, where we were.
Yeah. The nation has done so much wrong. 2 miles to the west of here, you can find a hill. On top of it, you'll find nothing. It's a flat plateau. But if you look down deep enough, you'll find runes. Glyphs carved in a language that no Garu speaks today. Well, there are 2 exceptions. That plateau is where a village stood. About 500 years ago. And it's where I performed my Foston challenge.
If you would like, I mean, I am but a cup, and even if this was my home set, I would not be able to leave without permission. But I would like to see this place. I'm sure my sister would too. She is a galliard like you.
I can take you.
Would it be better if there was no nation?
Just
Would it be?
just rampaging idiots going all over their place without us even a mirage of a central command. No, we'd be worse off.
A friend of mine, very close. Ever since I got to the Sept of the Green, he says we're losing because we're stagnant and because we only adhere to old rules. I want to disagree with him, but I start to find myself wondering if he may not be right. I mean, our
Well,
rules are old, but they've also managed to keep us together somewhat. Not that a lot of them, I mean, they only listened to it when it was up their alley, but still.
yes. Well, he's not wrong. Did you know, for example, that in the European continent, rules are still very much followed, as they once were, and some places are doing better, some are not. But the tribes that are there are very much more militant, a lot more set in tradition. The American steppes and those on this continent, on this part of the world, are a lot more accepting. And generally aren't dicks about it. Generally. Have you ever been to the Asian continent?
Up until 3 months ago, I had never left my sept.
Do you know what the Asian continent is?
No.
You have this part of the world, right?
It is south,
You have.
this part.
Have you ever seen a world map?
No.
Oh dear. And Aaron will reach into his magpie spec, pull out a map of the world. He'll unfurl it. And he will point at the Amazon, like tap on it. This is where we are right now.
And the thing will stick out one of the wet hands and just starts to follow the lines of the coast. With her finger, she looks very intrigued with this. And what's this? She just follows a landline.
Like a landline or like one of those coordination lines?
No, like the line of the land, like basically the continent. She's lining the continents.
That's the shore.
The shore.
Yeah.
And this land, and she points at the blue.
That's the ocean.
That's all water.
That is all water. 70% of the world is made up out of water.
That is so much.
It is it is very much, yes.
I didn't know. She looks definitely awestruck at that.
This, and he'll point at another place on the map. This is New York. This is where the Sept of the Green is.
She draws a line from where they are right now to New York. That is half the world.
That is indeed half the world. It's a very long distance away.
I see. Do you know where my sept is?
Um, what's the name of your sept?
Sept of the Four Seasons.
Sept of the Four Seasons. I think it's around here, and he circles an area on the Canadian country.
It's in a place called LWoD.
Yeah, I think it's around here. And he taps the map.
Right.
So
That is amazing.
he circles the two American continents. These are the American continents, as they call it these days and nights. And he goes over to the European continent. This is Europe. This is where most of the other tribes come from.
That small place.
Yes, that smaller
Where
place.
they started fighting.
This is Africa. This is where my tribe, and some say the Bonars, come from, as well as a whole lot of changing breeds.
I see. That's way bigger.
Mm-hmm. And then he'll go to the Asian continent, including a large part of Russia and the Middle East. No, actually, he'll go to the Middle Eastern part. That is the Middle Eastern continent. It's somewhere in. It's called the center of the world.
Hmm.
And then he'll go to the Asian continent, including Russia. This is the Asian continent. So,
Asian.
yes.
I can't say I've heard a lot of it. I've heard of Europe, although not a whole lot. And I've heard of this Africa, but I've never heard of Asia.
Well, this is where Stargazer tribe is from.
I've never met a stargazer.
There's a few in the set right now. If you look around, you might find them. They're they are odd.
People say the same about status writers.
Well, that's because we are. We, after all, we don't have a home. We have no territory. So just walk around.
I think people just say something is odd or bad when they don't understand it.
Or when they look at something and they think that is not the same as we do it, so that is weird.
Which means they don't understand it.
Exactly. But here on the Asian continent, they have something that they call the Henge Yokai, the beast gods. I've told you about the Hadi, right?
Yes.
You've heard about the War of Rage, how the Garu slaughtered the other changing breeds, right?
Mhm.
That never happened on the Asian continent.
Oh,
So
okay.
here, all of the Fera, all of them, all of Gaia's children are living with each other in balance. And each of
Yes.
them stick to their own tasks. Each of them have their own jobs, and each of them performs them with zeal.
And the wormcomers are okay with that.
Well, even if they weren't, they aren't strong enough to defeat the beast courts.
That almost sounds too good to be true.
It does, doesn't it? There's a lot of problems on the Asian continent. Whereas in the Pure Lands, the corruption is hidden and yet visible. In the Asian lands, it doesn't bother to hide. So it is a lot easier to spot and to destroy. The worm is a lot easier to find and kill. But it also means there's a lot more coming from it.
I see. Do you think that there is a chance that we will win the war? I've seen the vision of the Phoenix. Do you think we have a chance?
What the final prophecy revealed to us is said that the Go and the Fera will stand together and win. How that happens, I don't know, but every other sign has happened so far. Everything else is played out just according to that prophecy. And if that piece offers hope, I am grabbing that hope. And I will give my soul to do it.
I see.
Things will never be perfect. They will never be good, but they might be better. And if better is the best that we're going to get, then you could bet your ass that I will go for better.
Things have never been perfect.
The formation of the Ahadi is, in my eyes, the first step to fulfilling the eighth prophecy.
Ahadi?
Yeah, the Ahadi, what I told you about last time.
Sorry, the character has eidetic memory. Her player does not. Yes, Isaac. Thank you. Really. You've given me a lot to think about.
I'm glad. It means that I was useful.
I'm sorry I can't give you more in return.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well,
I'm a Galliard. It's what I'm supposed to do.
if you have need for something, in the few months that I've been in the Sept of Green, they've showed a very odd behavior of giving gifts and expecting things in return. So if you need something in return that I can provide, well, feel free, I guess.
Aaron will nod. Well, and he'll stand up. If I'll think about it. If
No, sorry.
if I have something, if I learn something, or if you just want to be amused, you can always look for me, and I'll tell you a story.
Stories are always welcome. I am playing, well, not playing actually, I'm exchanging stories with the water spirits.
They do enjoy their tales. All right, little child of water and winter, it is time that I go again.
Yes. Good luck in your endeavors and with your crystal.
Yes. Thank you. And he puts it back against his chest. And we'll walk off.
And Latin will do the same, although she'll make sure that she faces him or his direction until they can't see each other any further, and will then step sideways and just to find the water spirits because she has some more interesting stories for them to tell. And with that, we shall end the scene. Thank you, Steve, for seeing, and well, watchers for watching. And we will see you again in the Amazon.